Hello, welcome to the Museum at Home, where we at the museum show you fun programming that you can do in the comfort of your own home. Today, I'm going to show you how to make sun catchers. So these are a fun paper collage craft that you can do using household paper and supplies. So this is an example of what we're going to make. So it's just using black construction paper or black cardstock and tissue paper, and I just glued it on. And you can see kind of at the back end here, but you can hang it up in your window and the light will shine through and it can kind of create a really neat effect. So I'm going to show you how we can create that today. Now, I've got two different ways you can do it. You can either use tissue paper, so I've got some orange tissue paper here. Now, if you don't have tissue paper, you can also try wax paper or parchment paper, which can give you the same effect. And for this, you're just going to color it using crayon. So, to start off, I'll show you how I can cut out my design here. So I'm just going to create a simple heart shape. Get started. So I'm just going to fold it in half and then just sort of free form my heart design. You're welcome to draw it out and sketch out a design if you want to give it a go. Now, if you don't have any black cardstock, you can use regular colors, or you can use a white cardstock and color it in if you like. It just gives it a really nice stained glass effect if it has the black or dark cardstock as the border. So I'm just going to cut out my heart shape. All right, so that's the first part. So I've got my heart, but I don't have anything to glue or tissue paper or glue tissue paper inside. So I'm going to cut out another heart inside so it has an open space. Now, when you're doing this, you want to make sure that your border is pretty thick. You don't want to make it too thin or it's going to be a bit flimsy and hard to manage. So I've created a nice thick border here. So I've got my heart shape. So you can do a design like that. All right, so I'll put these aside for now. Now, if you want to go with a wax paper, if you don't have any tissue paper around, you can also use parchment paper. If you're using parchment paper, you can probably get away with using markers or crayon, but if you're using the wax paper, markers aren't going to work very well, so crayons are going to be your best bet. So I'm just going to lay this on here so I can get an idea of where the design's going to kind of fit. And I'm just going to scribble back and forth. I'm going to be pretty gentle because I don't want to tear the paper. And you want to press pretty hard. And that way you're going to get a nice layer of color. Cool thing with these crayons as well is that you can layer your colors. So I started with a bit of purple and now I'm going to add a layer of blue. And that's going to add a different color when the two of them overlap. Shade of blue over here, slightly darker. And yeah, you do have to hold the paper down to make sure it doesn't crinkle too much, or it'll get a little difficult. And let's say I'll add some more purple down here. And you can just layer different swirls, different patches of color. You can also create designs if you'd like. So I could maybe draw little circles here. So I could draw circles and color them in like that. Maybe I'll add a different color. So maybe I'll use a bit of a yellow and see how that comes out. And always remember that you can layer your colors on top of each other. So I can put my yellow on top of my blue and I'll get a really nice green color. Got some blue here, so I'll just color around in here, see if we can fill in these gaps. Let's see if we'll add space. Now the really neat thing about this craft is that it's also showing us some important things to think about when it comes to light. So when light hits objects, it can either pass through it or it can bounce off of it. If an object doesn't let any light pass through it at all, we call it opaque. So this black paper would be considered opaque. If light can pass straight through an object and you can see all the way through, then we would call it transparent. So the glass of your window would be transparent. But if light can kind of pass through something and maybe you can kind of see through it but not all the way, we call it translucent. And so this wax paper or the tissue paper would be considered translucent because some light gets through, but not all of it. All right, so add a little bit more red. Just swirly color. So we'll fill in this gap over here. A little bit of blue on the edges. And if you have different kinds of crayons or different brands, you can kind of see how they feel on the wax paper. Some of them are a little softer, some of them are a little harder. You may find it easier with different types of crayons. All right, so that's kind of where I'm at with this. I'll add a little bit more, maybe I'll add a purple on top of all that, just to kind of even it out a little bit. There we go. Okay, so I'm kind of happy with where that is. So I'm going to take a glue stick and I'm going to glue the black paper onto this wax paper here, and then I'll just trim the back end after. So you want to be pretty heavy-handed with your glue stick. If you're using white glue at home, you want to be a little sparing. You don't want the paper to get too wet. Just going to go all the way around the edges. Flip it over. Find a nice spot. And glue it down. Alrighty. And then I'm going to take my scissors and I'm going to cut out the wax paper so it's a little neat around the edges. You don't have to do this, but it does make it kind of seem like one intact piece. All the way around. Almost done this last little bit here. All right, so I've got a little bit of my black paper here, which is, as I said before, is opaque. And then this wax paper that I've colored is translucent. You can do any kind of design you want. You can layer colors, you can maybe just do one solid color, whatever you'd like. So I'm just gonna show you really quickly how you can do it if you do have tissue paper. So I've made a smaller design that has smaller gaps in it, and I'm gonna layer my tissue paper on. So you're gonna do similar to what we did before, but we're gonna actually put the glue down first before we do anything with our paper. So I've broken it up into smaller pieces. I'm just gonna put the glue on the edge, on the border. And I'm just gonna put down a little bit of paper here. So I've layered down one piece of tissue paper here. Peel off this extra bit here, and then I can mix up my colors. So if you have different colors, you can kind of play around with what you do, or play around with how you're going to make new colors by mixing them. When you put your second piece of paper on, you want to make sure you put a little bit of glue on the tissue paper that's already there and have an overlap, or it's going to be a little bit too thin and not quite hold together very well. So I'm going to layer my next piece of tissue paper right there, and then I think for the middle bit, I'll just make it orange. So I'll just put that right in the middle. That should cover the whole thing there. And then we'll go with red for this petal bit. Use this one again. All right. And if you've got the tissue paper and you see there's a bit where it's overlapping and you don't want that to happen, just tear it off. It's pretty straightforward to do that. All right, and I'll do these last two here. I'll do them both orange. And again, I'm gonna need another strip of orange, so I'm gonna put a bit of glue on what I've already put down, so that there's a nice overlap. Now, these are really nice to have in your window. You can there can be nice artwork for your own room, or you can also, it's nice, something nice for other people to see as they walk by, because they can see them hanging in the window. And they create really pretty colors. All right, so that's my little sun catcher right there. So that's the orange and red. So those are two different ways that you can make sun catchers to hang in your window. So we've got the wax paper with crayon, and we've also got the tissue paper, little flower. So hope you guys give that a try. It's pretty straightforward to use. You can kind of come up with any design you'd like. If you do end up creating it, be sure to share with us on our social media channels. Thanks so much. Bye.